checked his bank balance this morning. Nothing had changed. He checked it again. I did not make you lazy. I made you frantic, and I have been calling it ambition for years. This video is for the man who works harder than anyone he knows and still cannot explain what he is building. What if every task on your list is not moving you forward, but paying rent to me? Before this video ends, I will ask you to sit with an empty hour and do nothing, and you will find out exactly how much of your ambition belongs to you. I will walk you through the mechanism, the loop, the moment you handed it over, and the one move that breaks it. Scarcity fear fires, motion begins, relief arrives briefly, the relabeling hardens it into identity. The threshold moves, and the loop resets. Indefinitely. Because direction never enters the room. Here is what the man running this loop looks like from the outside. He has 3 savings accounts, 2 side income streams, and a folder of business ideas he has not opened since February. He added a new certification course last Tuesday. The check delivers no new information. The number is the same. He already knew the number. But the act of checking produces something the number itself cannot, which is a brief, thin sensation of control. And when that sensation fades, which it does within minutes, the only move available is to check again. What I need you to understand is that this is not diligence. This is a fear response. The ledger is not a financial tool in this moment. It is a panic gauge. And the needle never settles because it was never designed to settle. The man with the maxed retirement account checks. The man who closed his best sales month checks. The man who has more saved than he ever expected to have at his age checks. The number changes. The checking does not stop. That is the signal, not the balance, the behavior. The threshold exists somewhere above the current number, always above. You can name it right now, the figure you believe would finally make the checking feel unnecessary. I want you to hold that number in your mind, because I am going to show you what it does to it. What is the difference between a man driven by purpose and a man driven by panic? How would you know which one you are? Stay with that question. But before I answer it, I need to show you what this mechanism looks like from the outside. Because from the inside, it looks exactly like success. At some point, the panic got a new name. You were working long hours, producing output, staying ahead of the slow ones, and someone said you were driven. Maybe you said it yourself. And the name stuck. Not because it was accurate, but because it was useful. Useful to me. The identity became load-bearing. You cannot examine the engine without threatening the structure built on top of it. The man who questions whether his work ethic is actually fear risks losing the one thing that separates him from the drifters he looks down on. So the engine stays unexamined. That is where I need it. Watch the entrepreneur who pivots strategy every time a revenue month comes in soft. He is not adapting, he is escaping. Every pivot resets the clock, which means the direction question never has to be answered for long enough to feel the weight of it. He calls it agility. I call it maintenance. Watch the man who adds a new certification, a new skill set, a new credential every single year, but has not shipped anything meaningfully new in the last 2. He is accumulating. Every credential feels like building. None of it produces direction. The folder gets heavier. The gap between the folder and actual output stays exactly the same width. This is what I call accumulation behavior. The cluster of actions that fear of poverty drives when it is not named directly. Income source multiplication, credential stacking, skill collection without application, social capital hoarding. Each one delivers the brief reward of motion. None of them require committing to a direction that can fail. You have a name for what you do. You call it hustle, or drive, or building. I gave you that name. I needed you to keep the engine running without ever asking what it is running on. Here is what hypnotic rhythm does with this. Napoleon Hill's devil confesses that repetition hardens any pattern into permanence. The panic loop repeated long enough does not stay a response. It becomes a personality trait. It becomes who you are. At that point, you do not question the loop. You defend it. And if someone suggests the engine might be fear, you point to the output as proof they are wrong. The dopamine system rewards task completion regardless of whether the task serves a direction. Your brain does not distinguish between purposeful output and panic output. Both feel productive. That is the disguise from the inside. When was the last time you hit a financial target, a subscriber count, a revenue milestone, any threshold you had named in advance? And how long did the relief last? The threshold has a specific property I have not told you about yet. When you hit the last number, the relief lasted a week, maybe less. Maybe a single conversation where you mentioned it to someone and then felt the floor fall away again by that evening. You already knew this was coming, which is why you set the next number before the first one had finished settling. That is not ambition. That is my maintenance schedule. The threshold is not a goal. A goal is a fixed point. You reach it, you assess, you choose the next one deliberately. The threshold is not fixed. The threshold moves the moment you approach it, not because you lack discipline, because it was designed to move. A fixed threshold would eventually satisfy you. A moving threshold never does. I designed it to move. Trace it backward. The number you needed 3 years ago to feel secure. Then the number you needed when you hit that one. Then the next. The specific feeling you thought each number would produce, and the specific speed with which that feeling disappeared. You have been chasing a feeling that the threshold is constitutionally incapable of delivering, and the chase itself has been the mechanism. The man who said, once I hit a certain revenue level, I will start the real project, the one that actually matters to him, hit the number. He raised it. The real project is still in the Notes app. He does not talk about it much anymore. He talks about the current metrics instead. That is the pivot I needed him to make. The relief window after a goal is reached tends to be brief. The system returns to threat scanning before the accomplishment fully registers. This is not a character flaw. It is the architecture of the loop operating as designed. If I removed the fear, would the ambition still be there? Hold that question. The threshold keeps moving because there is something underneath the fear that the motion is protecting. Something I have never let you look at directly. Here is the difference between a man driven by purpose and a man driven by panic. The man driven by purpose can sit in a room with no tasks and still know what he is building. The man driven by panic cannot survive the room without adding something to it. The stillness surfaces a question he is not prepared to answer. The question is not complicated. It is 4 words. What am I building toward? Not what am I currently working on. Not what are my goals for Q2. What specifically am I building toward, and toward what end, and by what standard will I know when I have arrived? That question is the void. And every task, every certification, every pivot, every extra income stream is a wall built to keep it from surfacing. The motion is not accidental. It is architectural. Hill's framework names the antidote definiteness of purpose. Not a vision, not a goal list, not a morning intention. A specific aim selected under discomfort, held without renegotiation. The devil confesses he cannot override a mind filled with definite aim. The inverse is the mechanism I have been running. A mind filled with motion is one I can run indefinitely, because motion and direction are not the same thing. And a busy mind rarely notices the difference. The consent moment is not dramatic. It is small. It is the Sunday night when the week ahead felt undefined, and instead of sitting with the question, you opened a scheduling app and started filling the calendar. It is the morning you had space and you spent it consuming content about productivity rather than producing anything that required declaring a direction. It took seconds, and it was enough. You have been asked what you are building. You answered with what you are currently working on. Those are not the same question. You know the difference. So do I. The man with the vision board. The images selected, printed, arranged. The board is not direction. It is decoration over the void. Direction costs something that board does not require, which is the commitment to a specific outcome that can fail. Definiteness requires the vulnerability of a declared destination. Motion cannot fail because it has no declared destination. That is not an accident. That is the hidden rent the loop charges. Not your time, not your energy. The willingness to be wrong about something specific. If I removed the fear, would the ambition still be there? Now you have enough to answer. The price is not failure. Failure requires a declared destination. You cannot fail at a direction you never committed to. The price is deferral, permanent, compounding, and almost completely invisible from the inside. The man who drifts actively, who works constantly and accumulates steadily and never selects a fixed direction, leaves no evidence of what he forfeited, because he never committed to anything specific enough to lose. The cost is a version of himself that required direction to exist. And that version stays perpetually deferred. You are 34, or you will be, and you will have been building for a decade. And when someone asks what you built, you will describe what you are currently working on. The decade will not have a shape, just a volume of activity. Entropy is the mechanical principle here. Effort without direction decays. Not suddenly, slowly. Through the compounding of small surrenders into a pattern so hardened, it eventually resembles character. The man who spent 5 years in the loop does not question the loop. He has evidence for it. He has output. He has income. He has credentials. The loop produced just enough to make itself defensible. That is the most dangerous moment for me to lose someone. Not when he fails. When he succeeds just enough. Sufficient income, sufficient activity, sufficient identity. The loop hardens at the point of just enough. The version of you that committed to one direction and held it, that version has been kept from you. Not with laziness, with busyness. You were too productive to notice. There is one move. It is not a system. It is not a plan. It is 1 hour and one question, and it will be the most uncomfortable thing you do this week. Return to this morning. The balance check. The number that did not change. The second check. That moment is the mechanism in its smallest form. Scarcity, fear fires. Motion delivers brief relief. The relabeling converts it to discipline. The threshold moves and the loop resets. That is the architecture. And the architecture has one vulnerability. It cannot survive a sustained encounter with the void. First, block 1 hour this week. No tasks, no inputs, no content, no productivity theater of any kind. The hour has one purpose. Second, sit with one question only. What am I building this toward, specifically? Not the aspirational version, the honest version. The version that has a shape and a standard and a point at which you would know you had arrived. Third, write the first honest answer down. Not the vision board answer, not the goals document answer, the answer that surfaces when the motion stops. If no answer arrives within the hour, write that down instead. The absence is the data. The discomfort you feel reading this is not motivation. It is the avoidance response. The loop protecting itself. That discomfort is me. And that is how you know exactly where the mechanism lives. Definiteness of purpose is the one force Hill names that I cannot override. Not because it is powerful in the abstract, but because it fills the space the motion was protecting. A mind with a fixed direction has no void for me to manage. The hour is the diagnosis. The answer is the beginning of the antidote. What you do after the hour is yours.